Well, good morning, everybody. Once again, we are back here on the ROS Media channel. My name's Andy. If you don't know who I am and you're watching us for the first time, it's great to have you with us. I'm head of the Republic of Old Souls media platform here and the Freedom Plan as well. And I'm back once again with my good friend Iain Clifford, who is our founder and president of the Republic of Old Souls. And we're on the Protocol Pep Talk. What we're doing today and what we've been doing over the past few weeks as well is breaking down each of the individual protocols and just trying to make some real sense of those. Because if you can see the real world benefits of how these protocols stand alone, but also how they interweave and how they interlock together to help you go from where you're at right now in the matrix, potentially looking for a way out, looking for freedom. That is the goal. Our goal has always been freedom here. And that's what these protocols are designed to help you achieve, a journey towards the freedom that you seek. So today we are going to be really drilling down into the Envoy protocol. This is something that I feel there's a bit of confusion over, Iain, in terms of what it does not do. How is it going to help me? How is it not going to help me? So I'm excited to kind of talk about this one today and just dig into it in a little bit more detail. First and foremost, what I would love to do, if you could, is for you to just explain the core benefits, shall we say. If we went through just the main core benefits of the protocol, I've got the document here. I know that you guys have got access to all of these kind of technical reports as well as to what the protocols do. But just to break it down into real world language for people, one of the things that you talk about as a core benefit is that you can step out of Crown jurisdiction entirely. So do you want to just go through these? There's 4 or 5 core sort of sections, isn't there, to what the Envoy protocol will do for people and how it benefits them. But if we start with this one, that would be great.
Yeah, well, you really need to know what the problem is before you can see the benefits, you see. So we ought to start with the problem. And the problem is agency. And it's a problem that a lot of people really haven't grasped. They haven't realized that the significant problem that is disguised, and it's very deceptive, is agency between the living man, woman, and the body corporate, the birth certificate construct.
Yeah,
it is the most significant part of status and standing. And let me explain why. The majority of those that are promoting status standing kits haven't realized, or if they have, they don't talk about it. I think the case is they haven't realized because they haven't done deep enough research. That, you see, the cabal is, they play the game of Monopoly at a genius level. And their deception is very, very difficult to realize exactly what's going on with it. And most people that come into the jurisdiction, they realize that jurisdiction is really important when they start to look into it. And nearly everyone in the freedom/truth community will tell you that the way to beat the Crown is effectively jurisdiction.
Okay.
And so many people are relying on the fact that they believe that all you've got to do is exert your jurisdiction as a living man or woman, and therefore all of these corporate policies that the Crown, the cabal want to rely upon in courtrooms, in police stations, by the side of the road when they pull you in, and some sort of driving offence or whatever is going on, or the tax, or any state related legislation, and the freedom and the truth community, the majority, I don't think I've ever read anything from anywhere that I know of that actually realizes what the real problem is. Now, I'm not criticizing people because it's not easy to find this stuff.
No.
You have to have a very forensic mind to be able to understand what's going on. And everything I've ever read, and I have read exhaustively on the, into this subject. I'll just give you some examples. People say, well, all you've got to do is send an affidavit to the Secretary of State that you are a living man or woman. And if you ever go into a courtroom, they'll leave you alone, because they know that you are now a living man or a woman. You're not this body corporate, this construct, birth certificate construct.
Okay.
Allegedly, that's going to work, right? That's what they believe. And there are groups out there that are promoting this approach. And it sounds like it's really elegant, solution. Okay, yeah, you can look a really nice affidavit. Baron Ward has got one. It's like, I don't know how many pages. It's about 80, 90 pages long.
Okay.
Packed with a whole load of really quite well put together material, but it doesn't make a jot of difference. You send it to the Secretary of State, and I'm sure they just look at one and go, oh, here's another one, and just throw it in the bin. So it doesn't actually do anything. And then you've got groups like I think they call themselves the Terra Australis group, which is a group in Australia.
Yep.
Amazing. And I've listened to loads of their content, and I've read it all. And they think that you can send an affidavit to Secretary of State, a couple of other key figures in the in the cabal's infrastructure, and that's going to do the same thing. And again, it's really well written, and it's got loads of really interesting things in it. But as soon as anybody gets it, they're just going to, anybody in the cabal, in the top of the cabal's control infrastructure, they're just going to throw it straight in the bin, because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't actually mean anything in their system.
No.
And then you've got others that believe that what you need to do is, and this would be like Govinda Tidball, all you got to do is take out, get on your computer and create a UCC1 and UCC3 filing, and put a lien over the body corporate construct. That's the birth certificate construct. So the living man or woman is going to put a 50 million lien over the body corporate construct, and register it on the Uniform Commercial Code system, so that if you turn up in a courtroom, you just say to the judge, I'm a living man, I have got a superior claim on this body corporate construct here, which is the birth certificate created entity, and therefore my claim is superior to your claim, the court, so basically go away. And a lot of people, huge numbers of people, believe that is going to help them in a courtroom, and of course it doesn't help you anywhere. And then there's other people who say, well, the solution, and this would be Bibi Bacchus, she would say, and she still is saying, and I've listened to all of her material and read it all, she will tell you that what you need to do is you need to collapse the body corporate construct. You've got to get rid of it, because it's not helping you. So you've got to rescind it. You've got to send all these rescission notices to various members of the cabal, and tell them that you don't want it anymore. It's not yours. You're not going to use it anymore. Get rid of it, and can try and erase it from the record. And then you've got others like Peter of England, for example, who promotes under his Freeman Legal Society or Law Society, whatever he's calling it now. What he'll tell you is, what you can do is you can become a diplomat of the nation which he set up, which is allegedly it's all of the seas of the world, and you can become basically you can become a national where there isn't a landmass, and I think it's called W2 or so. I can't remember exactly what it's called. The nation is set up, but you can become a national of this nation, which doesn't have a geographic location. It's all of the areas of the sea, which allegedly haven't been claimed by any particular government around the world. And then you claim that you are a diplomat of this nation. For the life of me, I can't remember what it's called, but he promotes it a lot on his platform. So if you're a diplomat, then you've changed jurisdiction, yeah? And then you've got people like Brandon Joe Williams, who says that what you can do is you can set up a diplomatic United States passport. And that's going to give you basically state national status. And therefore the cabal and their courtrooms don't have any jurisdiction over you because you've changed your position. You're no longer this body corporate construct on the monopoly board. And I could go on, and I will be writing papers on this. So you might be thinking, Iain, we haven't joined this video so that you can criticize everybody else. And that's not my intention. My intention is to save people from going down the wrong pathway and causing themselves damage. So I'm not trying to attack all of these people I've listed out. That's not my intention. No. My intention is to reveal the research that I've done, which is exhaustive. And I'm very happy if any one of those I've just mentioned wants to debate me on this channel about what I've just said and prove to me that their approach is sound in the law and it actually works, then I would love to have that debate. I doubt anybody will take me up on it, because the problem that all of these approaches have is that none of them have any evidence of any track record of working. No. So you've got to start with the problem. You can't solve a problem unless you know what it is. So you've got to always start with the problem. And the problem is that people believe that they can send some paperwork off and it's going to change the jurisdiction of the living man, woman. It's always the same thing. It's changing jurisdiction. The living man, woman has got a superior jurisdiction to the body corporate construct. And that is going to solve all of your problems, your mortgage foreclosure, your bankruptcy, your speeding fine, even your criminal case. There's one more that is SBC University. They promote something called court bonds. So you take out a bond, you bond the case. So you take out this huge bond, and that is going to basically mean that no matter what you do, whether it's civil or criminal, you've bonded the case, and the judge is going to collapse the case because you've bonded it, because allegedly the case is a financial security at the court level. I'm not going to go deeply into that because there is some area in that, but it's not the way that the SPC University claim it is. And therefore you can basically become the holder in due course of the court case. Yeah. Because you've taken out this huge bond. And it's like, it's just total nonsense. It literally is absolute nonsense. It looks really impressive if you don't know what you're reading, if you don't understand what these things are. And there's lots of really sort of highfalutin terminology in there, which for the untrained eye and those that don't have experience in these matters and haven't done depth of research that I have done, it could actually fool you into believing that you can walk in a courtroom in a criminal matter, and walk out because you've bonded the case. And yet again, there's absolutely no evidence of it working, but there is evidence of people being jailed because they tried to use it.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that. You know, you've got this situation where not only do you have people who are maybe feeling a little bit emotional, a bit desperate in the situation that they find themselves in. So they're not necessarily going to be looking at the subject matter just with an untrained eye. They're not going to be looking at it rationally either in a lot of cases, are they? Because this is their last ditch attempt at a solution. And we were talking about this yesterday on another interview. I remember that it's not just a case of, we're not bad mouthing people here. You know, we're all fighting for freedom at the end of the day. And what these other people are trying to do is honorable in the vast majority of cases. They're trying to help people, but also people are getting themselves into a worse situation than they currently find themselves in. And that's the problem. It's not just that they're going down the wrong path and it's wasting time. In a lot of cases, they're going from bad to worse and getting themselves in real hot water with some of these processes, aren't they? And that's really what we want to be addressing.
So, you know, I'm asking our membership, if you come across a process that you're not clear about, not sure about, send it to me and I'll have a look at it. Because I've immersed myself in this for 8 years. I don't think there's anything out there that I haven't reviewed, because I need to understand everything, what's going on in every area. And I need to get it in my head, and I need to clearly understand what works and what doesn't. And the early part of our journey at Matrix Freedom, when it was called Matrix Freedom, our PMA, I relied on others who brought processes that, quite frankly, they already knew didn't work. But it's because I wasn't an expert at that time. I think I am an expert now. I would like to debate anyone on this subject, any subject that I talk about, and I'm pretty sure that I would hold my own in any debate with anyone. So let's get back to the problem. So the problem is jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And everyone's trying to change their jurisdiction. Everyone who is up against the cabal's control agenda, is saying, right, all I've got to do is change the jurisdiction of the artificial construct and step into the living, or take control of the artificial construct by liens or court bonds or whatever it is, UCC filings. You know, there's only really two things that are circulating in the freedom and truth community, which is it doesn't apply to me because I'm living, which is, then you can break that down into man, woman under God, constitutional law, Magna Carta, blah, blah, blah. It's all the same. And then the other camp is, well, let's change the nature of the body corporate. Let's collapse it, BB Bacchus. Let's take a lien out over it. That's Govinda Tidball and many, many others. And then let's take out a court bond over it. So you've basically got two schools of thought. Step away from it or control it.
Yeah.
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 Because the problem is the body corporate construct. Because that's the piece, if you've been to my webinars, that is the piece that is on the monopoly board.
Yeah.
So if that piece is on the monopoly board, the body corporate name on your birth certificate, driving license, the one that you use to operate on the monopoly board, if that piece is the one that is in trouble, bankruptcy, court fines, court cases, defending this, that, and the other, the problem is that you can't just say, I am not that, and walk away.
No.
Which a lot of people try and do.
Yeah.
And the courts literally just say it's pseudo law, and they are probably cracking up with hilarity behind the when they go back into their back room. If you've ever been in a courtroom, they probably say, here's another idiot who says that she is not this body corporate entity that's arrived in all the court papers. And again, I'm not trying to criticize anybody who's tried to use these things. And there are videos on YouTube where people walk in with their birth certificate and say, there you are, go and put that in jail, and I'm walking out. And it's like, really? I mean, if it's that simple to change jurisdiction, you just hand your birth certificate to the judge and then walk out. I think everybody in the freedom community would do it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, of course they would.
And of course, you know, there'd be hundreds and hundreds of people on YouTube saying, I went to court and I gave the judge my birth certificate and walked out, and I never heard any more. If it was that easy, then everybody would be doing it, in my opinion. So
yeah. So before we talk about stepping outside of this Crown jurisdiction, because as you've mentioned, it's all about jurisdiction, and people are trying to create a space where they are separate from this body corporate. But something that you mentioned earlier surrounding agency, and this is where people are not understanding the connection between the living man and the body corporate through agency. Perhaps we could start there before we talk about this separation and stepping outside of the jurisdiction.
That's the trick. You see, that is the trap. It's the trick. It's the trap. It's the deception. And if you ask the average guy on the street, can you give me an explanation of what agency means? They'd probably tell you about the estate agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the travel agency,
or your marketing agency, or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they'll say, yeah, well, you know, there's agents in like spy movies, isn't there? There's stuff like that.
Secret agents.
Secret agents. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because he's the average guy on the street, and again, I'm not criticizing. Why would anyone want to know this stuff? Because they don't use it in day-by-day life. So why know it? Yeah. Well, I know it because I've researched it, because I wanted to understand what the trap was, you see. And I looked at all of these other methods of jurisdictional control, and I couldn't find any evidence that any of them worked. So that tells me that you've got to look deeper. You've got to look further. You've got to go further than just take something off the shelf, which looks pretty good and loads of people are selling it and lots of people are believing it's going to work. If there's no evidence of it working, why would you bother relying on it? And it's pretty dangerous, isn't it? But unfortunately, a lot of people in the freedom and the truth community are in a situation where they are probably emotionally damaged, and they don't want to spend a lot of time researching stuff. They just want to pull something off the shelf that may be the remedy to their problem. And I get it. You know, I'm not criticizing that, because if you're in a mentally challenged state, which you are if you're under the cosh, you're not operating at your highest level, and you're probably not going to do, you know, loads and loads of research to figure out what's going on, or you just trust other people because you've got a very trusting nature, which of course is, you know, it's a good thing to have if you can rely on people to do what they say they're going to do. But unfortunately, the Monopoly Board of Commerce is not like that. The cabal and their control agenda is deliberately deceptive. It's not like by disguise or by chance.
Oh no.
It's been set up by genius. Just 1 second. I've got a really important message that's just come in, and I just need to reply to it because there's something important going on.
I'll pause the recording, guys, and we'll be back to you in a second. Okay, so we were talking about agency and how it's completely deliberate.
Yeah, I mean, it's genius. Everything they do is genius. And although the information about how they trapped us all is in plain sight, it's not obvious as to where to find it. And unless you've got a pretty forensic sort of mind, you're not going to see it, probably not going to see it, because you don't really know what you're looking for. So it's a bit like the analogy of, you know, you might look at the swan, and the swan looks really peaceful and calm on the surface of the water. But underneath, the old legs are going 10 to the dozen. So you know, the reality of the trap isn't on the surface of the water. It's not what you're seeing on the surface of the water. It's actually underneath the water, which you're not looking at. And you don't know what's going on underneath the water. The bit that you can't see from looking from above, yeah, unless the water is very clear and you can see straight through it. But if you are, if you're not looking underneath, it's a bit like the iceberg, yeah, you only see the tip of the iceberg. You're not seeing all the rest of the iceberg underneath the sea. So if you're not looking because you don't know what to look for, this trap is going to fool you, and most people would be fooled for their entire life. And I literally mean that. People will be born and they'll go to their grave still not understanding what the nature of the trap is. And they won't even know that there is a difference between the living man and woman and the body corporate construct. They, you know, the majority won't even know that those two things are separate. They just won't. Because
well, I didn't.
Nobody's going to tell you. Yeah. So let's go through how the trap works, right? And this answers the question, if you've ever asked the question, why does the midwife and the cabal want incessantly to register newborn babies? What's going on? Why is it so important for them to do that? And if you don't do it, they're going to hound the mum and the dad to do it. Yeah? So if you've ever wondered why are they doing that? There has to be a reason why it's so important for them to do that, right? And you know, you can forget the bullshit which the midwife or the hospital or whoever it is going to tell you, because they don't even know themselves, because they just follow a line that they've been given from their higher ups. Yeah. They don't even know what's going on. So let me explain it. And you may have heard this before, but if you have, you may not have fully grasped what it means, because it took me a while to figure it out. You see, in order for there to be a joinder between the living man and woman and the body corporate construct, two things have to happen. The first thing is that in the hospital, they take the placenta from the mum, and they really want that thing. They don't want to give it back to the mum. Some people want the placenta. I mean, is it actually stories of people having rows with the midwives and the hospital staff that's their property, it belongs to them, it's part of their body, and they want it. And the hospitals won't give it back. They literally will go into a war over it in the hospital. Probably the last thing you want to be doing if you've just given birth to a new baby. So, I'm sure that nobody wants to have a war. It should be a very joyous moment, shouldn't it? But
again, you know, that all smacks at the genius of how they've crafted all of this. You know, getting a woman in her most vulnerable state when she's tired and exhausted and emotional, and just all she wants to do is hold the newborn baby. I would imagine the placenta is the last thing on her mind. So it's genius how it's been done.
It's genius. So the majority won't even realize what's going on. So they take the placenta away. And of course, that placenta after a while is going to die.
Yeah.
Can't live because it's no longer connected to the mother. And it all sounds really gruesome. And you might think, what the hell has this got to do with the Envoy Protocol? Well, it's the nature of the trap, you see.
Yeah.
So they register the placenta that then dies. And that becomes the body corporate construct.
Yeah.
And the fact that there is a DNA linkage between the mother and father, because obviously they created the baby, and the baby itself that becomes a man-woman much later on, there is a DNA joinder between the two.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can't do much about that because it is what it is. Yeah. You can't rescind that because it's a natural DNA, joinder event. So you can't say I'm going to rescind the DNA linkage between the two, between the placenta and the mother. That's not going to work. But here's the trap, right? So then what they do is many years later, having registered this placenta into the system, that's now got a birth certificate and it's got a name, it's got a certificate number, It's got a date, which you look at it and you think, well, is that really me? And look at the date on it, and it's the date of the registration of the decedent estate, because it's a dead estate, right? Because the placenta dies. And then you look at the reference number on one of the corners, and you think, well, what's that reference number all about? Well, that reference number is the registered number for this decedent estate. And then you take a look at the boxes on the certificate, and it's got one box normally which is the family name or surname, and it's all in capital letters. And very invariably, or nearly everyone I've seen is like that. And that's what they're actually registering, is they're registering that name, the capital letters name, the surname, family name, which later on, the baby that becomes, grown up is going to say, that's me. That name is me, and why would they not say that? I mean, their mum and dad had that name. If they came from a family that hasn't broken up, they're all using that name, So it's like, it's perfectly natural to use that name, and normal, and no one's going to think it's weird if you use the name that your parents go by. So there's no reason to challenge it, is there, really? No. Unless you understand the trap. So two things happened. The DNA joinder. And then the name of the entity itself. And then what happens, and now you see we're getting into what's called adhesion contracts. A lot of people are going to think, is that something to do with glue? No, not really. I mean, adhesion is to do with glue, but an adhesion contract is something which is contractual, that you haven't actually signed a contract. You have no knowledge of signing a contract. An adhesion contract, right? So this is the invisible contracts that are everywhere, that most people don't even realize are in place. And you don't have to consent to them, by the way.
No.
So people that believe in this, I didn't consent, showing me the contract nonsense, it doesn't apply in the legislation. The body corporate that's on the monopoly board is all governed by legislation, and you can't say, oh yeah, show me the contract, and if you can show it to me, I'll and show it's my signature on it, then then we'll dance, then we'll get together and talk about the problem. And if you can't show me the signature on the contract, we haven't got a contract, and I'm walking out of here, and I don't care what you're going to do, what you're going to say, you haven't got a contract with me. It's naive and fundamentally flawed to believe that all you have to do is ask for a copy of the contract. So that's like the Sovereign Project, right? So and I love what they're trying to do. I love what all these people are trying to do, if it worked. But the problem is it doesn't work at the highest level. It might work low down, as I said on my interview with Pete Stone of the Sovereign Project. You might get away with all that, showing with the contract stuff lower down in the system, where the people you're up against don't even understand it themselves.
No.
But you go to the High Court, you go to the Court of Appeal, you go to the Supreme Court with a big problem and say, where's the contract? And they're going to laugh at you. And they're going to put you in jail if you keep on with that line, because they'll get you for contempt of court. And that, again, isn't a theory. If people have gone to jail for contempt of court because they keep talking about nonsense that has no substance or merit. Yeah, it might work in the magistrate's court, or if you send letters to the debt collector and say, where's the contract? It might work, it might work in all sorts of scenarios, but it doesn't work in the big league, which is generally the high courts, right? Where it gets really serious, right? And that's where some people are going and getting themselves deeply in trouble, because they're asking for the contract. And if it was as simple as that, the whole world would just say, I don't have to comply with any legislation. Because I've never seen the contract, right? Now, you see, let me explain that a bit more, and then we will get into agency.
Sure.
all of these things to me are very important because a lot of people are being damaged by these beliefs, you see. So what happens is that these people that think that all you've got to do is ask for the contract, and if you can't see the evidence of it, you can walk out and you've got no further liability. When the state, the cabal, pass legislation, they don't need all of the men and women who are representing the body corporates to sign contracts.
No.
How many acts of parliament are there? How many legislative acts are there? I can tell you there's about 50,000 in every country. So just imagine how ridiculous it would be if the state sent you a contract for every single piece of legislation that's ever been passed that's still approvable.
Yeah.
So you're going to get 50,000 contracts through your door, yeah?
Times 8 million, however many people are in the country, yeah.
Yeah, only if you sign them, all these legislation. So legislation is a huge book of legislation, yeah? Mm. Most people have no idea how much legislation there is. There's masses of it. Are they really going to send every single man and woman who is an agent for the body corporate birth certificate construct an individual contract for every piece of legislation? Think about it.
Well, of course they're not.
It would be totally ludicrous.
An impossible task, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you've got millions of people in the country that are over the age of 18, and these people that say all you've got to do is ask for the contract. Well, how would the state send millions of people 50,000 contracts for them to sign? It's just never going to happen, is it?
No.
And the reason why the state doesn't send all these contracts is because the birth certificate construct is registered to them.
Yeah, and that's what people don't understand. So if it's registered to them, why do they need to send a contract?
Yeah, so let me give you a flippant example, but it will illustrate the point, right? You go and get a dog and you get a license to hold the dog, yeah? So that dog is now your property, yeah, because it's that you've got a license to have it, yeah. If it's some sort of, or an alligator, you have a license to have an alligator in your house, yeah. Do you need to tell the alligator or the dog that you're going to change something in your house and get them to sign a contract that they agree to it?
No.
You take my point?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of the citizens are already registered to the Crown. They're not going to send you a contract and say, hey, have a look at this. And if you don't agree with any of the clauses, come back and we'll change them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to happen, is it?
No, it's not.
So you see, they don't need anyone to sign contracts because they already own the entity because it's been registered to them. So that's one of the traps, is registration. And then the other trap, and this is the one that is even deeper to get your head around, right? If you get to the age of majority, which is different in different countries,
yes,
you start using the name, which is the name on the birth certificate, the big capital letters name at the far right box. If you go round with that name and you hold yourself out as if that is you, yeah. So in my case, Iain Clifford Stamp, right? Stamp is the big capital letters name on the birth certificate, right?
Yes.
Now, for many, many years, I held myself out as Iain Stamp. Yeah. On contracts, on agreements, in every single way, right? So what that is actually doing is perpetrating an impersonation fraud.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll give you another example. If you go around saying that you are Google, my name is Google, my name is Amazon, my name is McDonald's, yeah.
Okay.
And if you held yourself out as if that is you, those organizations, and I'll give you another example, Warner Brothers, right? So when we first launched Matrix Freedom, the word Matrix Freedom is one word, yeah? Matrix Freedom is 2 words, even though a lot of people used to write it as 2 words. It's one word.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers wrote to me and said, you have to stop using the name of Matrix Freedom because it's their name.
From the movie, I'm assuming. Yeah.
From the movie The Matrix, yeah?
Yeah.
And their lawyers wrote to me and said, stop using it, otherwise we're going to sue you.
Yeah.
Literally. I'm not making it up. I've still got the letters.
Yeah.
So you see, they were telling me that I can't impersonate their name. It's their name. Yeah, they've got it. They've registered it to them, right? So when you know that that is a problem, why wouldn't the Crown, who've got the name on the birth certificate registered to them, why would they not say to you, hey, stop using that name? Don't use Stamp as the name, right? Have you ever asked that question? Why would they not write to you and say, hey, we've realized that you're going around holding yourself out. Holding out in the law means something. It's not just a phrase. Yeah. Holding out means representation, right? So you're holding out that you are that entity.
When in reality, you're not.
When in reality, you can't be, because that doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. Like Warner Brothers own Matrix. I defeated them, by the way, because the name Matrix Freedom is not the Matrix. It's a different connotation. And they eventually went away, right? But the point is that they own that name Matrix. Like the Crown owns Stamp or Brown or Smith or Jones or whatever the family name is, right?
Yeah.
And the Crown isn't going to write to you like Warner Brothers wrote to me and say, stop using that name. So the next question is, well, why would they not do that? And the reason they don't do that is because they want you to be impersonating that name. Because that makes the living man or woman a fraudster.
Yeah.
Impersonation fraud is one of the reasons why when you turn up in a courtroom and you are defending that you are the name on the docket, on the charge sheet,
yeah,
they're going to say, they don't say this in the courtroom because they're not going to give that away. You're not going to win. You're already a loser. You're already a debtor. You're already a impersonation fraudster.
Yeah. So they destroy any standing that you have before you even start, providing you represent that name in fraud, which everybody's done. You've done it. I've done it until we reached a point where we understood.
The genius of it, you see, it's next level. I've said this so many times. This isn't human thinking. This is could well be alien thinking, right? This all of this system is just genius, next level, right? If you then realize that you can't win if you are using that name, which is why hardly anybody in history has ever won and beaten the Crown or the Cabal. Yeah. It's their court. You're representing the name that belongs to them as if it was you.
Yeah.
You have, and this is where let's get a little bit deeper, right? There are different types of law that are being practiced. The equity, which is a big part of law, you can't fight under equity with unclean hands.
Okay.
So if you turn up in a court situation as a living man, woman, and you don't know that you're not the birth certificate construct, and you start arguing to defend it or attack for it, but normally you're defending it because you're up in court for some reason, you've gone in that courtroom with unclean hands.
Okay.
Right? Now, this is very substantial in the law. if you don't have standing because you are a criminal walking into their courtroom, you've already lost before you've opened your mouth.
That's what I mean. You're on the back foot just because of what you're representing.
You
when
can't
you don't
win.
have a right to.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what your argument is. It could be you could have 100 points of fact that prove that you're right, but you've gone in there as a fraudster, even though you don't realise that you are. Impersonation fraud. Like if I went into court against Warner Brothers, and if they won that case, they would. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. They're going to say he's impersonating our name. He's lost.
Yeah.
It makes no difference what my story is at all. Nothing.
No.
It's all gone. It's all eviscerated through fraud, you see.
Okay.
The problem is that the level of genius on the other side of this equation is too much for most people to figure out.
Yeah.
I figured it out through challenging it, reading about it, looking at all the evidence forensically to figure out what their trap is. Because if you're going to win in anything in the matrix, if you're going to go to war with them, you've got to know what their strengths are. Yeah, you've also got to know what their weaknesses are.
Their weaknesses are as well. Yeah,
because sorry, I've got just dealing with this issue. The problem that most people are facing is they don't understand what the power is of the other side, the crown, the cabal. And they think they can win with futile argument, which is never going to work because they don't understand the problem. The problem is agency. And let's explain what that means. It's not the estate agency or the travel agency.
No.
It's agency in law. So a lot of people are using this on their documents. Notice to agent is notice to principal.
Yes.
And notice to principal is notice to agent. This is mostly misunderstood. From my experience, people use these phrases and they don't even know what they actually mean. So what does agency actually mean? If you read into it, have a look at it in the law. Look at Hallisbury's Book of Law. Look at all the law books, right? What you're going to discover is that agency is all about liability. Okay? So the agent is responsible for the principal with equal liability of the principal. That's pretty much what agency means. It means many other things, but that is the essence and the core meaning of agency, right?
Right, okay.
So what you've got is a scenario where the birth certificate is being created, the placenta has been registered, it's not you, it's a decedent estate. You start using the name of it when you come into the age of majority. You're now committing impersonation fraud without knowing it. Unknowingly you're committing impersonation fraud. You can't get rid of the registered entity. It's like, how do you get rid of a company? If you register a company, how do you get rid of it if it's not under your control? So the birth certificate construct is like a company that's registered to the Crown.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of it because it's theirs. They're not going to let you get rid of it, right?
No.
Why would they want you to get rid of it when they use it to control you? Why would they do that? Yeah. So this is basically the trap. The nature of the problem. This is why I'm spending so much time on this, Andy.
No, I get it. This is foundational. It really is for people to understand.
If we go into benefits, no one's going to understand what. So we've got we start with the problem, and then we look at the options of how you solve the problem, right? So the issue is agency. Now, what agency really means is that whatever the principal's doing on the monopoly board, that's the body corporate construct, whatever they're doing, it doesn't matter what they're doing, because it's being represented, the agent for it is the living man and woman, and it's joined, equal liability. So what people need to get their head round, if they're going to have a clear understanding of what the Envoy protocol is doing. Can we pause again, mate, please? Because somebody at my door now. So agency is the problem, and it's been set up in such a way where it's like an invisible problem.
Yeah.
No one sends you a contract and says, would you like to be the agent for the body corporate? Yes, no, and these are all the conditions that we can negotiate, right?
Mm.
Like they don't send you a contract about whether you agree or disagree about driving 70 miles an hour on the motorway.
Yeah, or your council tax or whatever it may be.
Or your annual tax bill or whatever it is, yeah? Or anything, any of the 50,000 pieces of legislation. They don't send you a contract saying, do you realise that now you've turned 18, you are now the agent for this body corporate construct, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to be that? Or do you want to negotiate about being the agent for it? No, they don't do that because they've already registered it. And then what they rely upon is adhesion contracts. So I'm going to explain what they are because a lot of people won't know what they are, right?
Yeah.
In the law, you don't need a physical piece of paper to sign for there to be a contract in existence. So if you are holding yourself out as the body corporate birth certificate construct by using its name, you have created a contract which is known as an adhesion contract. So without knowing it, you've actually entered into contract. Again, Pete Stone and the Sovereign Project, they don't realise this.
No.
They haven't done enough research on what the law, how the law actually works. So they set you up so that you are now going to enter into contracts, even though nobody's asked you to sign a bit of paper. And the Crown is never going to send you loads of bits of paper for every piece of legislation.
No.
So I'm going to go a bit further with this because it is much bigger a problem than a lot of people realise. So when you answer to the name, yeah, the police pull your car in, which isn't yours, it belongs to the Crown, yeah? And you wind the window down and the policeman says, what's your name? Oh, my name's Iain Stamp, right?
Yeah.
Guilty. Right there. Guilty.
Yeah, because you're not.
He doesn't even have to say anything else.
No.
Because now what you've done is you've entered into a contract in fraud because you're using the name that belongs to the Crown. Yeah. So you see, it's next level genius, isn't it? Because why would you not say what your name is? Because it isn't your name, but you think it is.
Yeah.
So all these people, and then there's lots of other people that say, right, I got pulled in and the police asked for my name, but I didn't give it to them. And they took me to the police station and they put me in a cell for a day and eventually they released me, right? So I won because I didn't give them a name, right? And there is some merit in that, actually.
Mm.
If you want to get locked up in a police cell regularly by using your car or using the car that is registered to them. A lot of people haven't got the time for that because they've got busy lives and they don't want to be locked up actually in police cells. And it's not a very nice experience anyway. But there is some merit in that if you don't give the name. But it's not very practical, is it?
No.
Because every time you go out, the police are going to target the car you're in.
Exactly.
They keep pulling you over because they like doing that. They actually play that game and they quite enjoy it, some of the police. So the name is a big problem, you see. And the fact that you are using it is then reinforcing through adhesion contracts that you are quite happy to be the agent for the body corporate on the monopoly board. And they could pull out of their computer, if you think about it, because all these things we've all done, unless we've just turned 18 and we've done nothing on the monopoly board yet, All these things we've done on the Monopoly board since the age of 18, if it's the UK, or 21, if it's other countries.
Yeah.
They've got a record of all of them, yeah?
Yeah.
So how many times have you held yourself out as the body corporate name?
I would not begin to be able to count over the last 40 odd years nearly.
Exactly. So if you've been playing, the player has been pushing the piece around the Monopoly board for many years, there could be thousands of adhesion contracts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you see, and this is why when people turn up in a courtroom and they say, I am not that birth certificate over there, I'm going to hand it to the judge and he's going to collapse the case and I'm walking out, right? The evidence that they've got is that you, for 48 years or 50 years or 30 years or 5 years or 1 week, have been holding yourself out as that name that doesn't belong to you. So these people that believe that you can send a document to the court with your a different name on it, like an abbreviated name or just one name, and that other name isn't me, and expect to win. I'm going to give you another example just to really make this simple for people to understand. So you've got a burglar who has for 20 years been burgling people's houses. And thousands of houses this guy's burgled, right? And he's got away with every single one of them. And then he gets caught one day burgling a house. And he gets taken to the police station and they say, well, we have got proof here that you are the burglar, right? And he says, why, it's my first offence, so you've got to give me some leniency, right? And I've got mental illness and I can't possibly be held guilty for this because I've got all these other reasons why I did it, right? And they say, yeah, but what about the other 20 years of burglaries that you've been committing? Do you understand the point I've just made?
Yeah.
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 So you see, people turn up in a courtroom and they say, this bit of paper here says I'm not the birth certificate name, so clap the case, yeah? Well, what about the 20 years, 30 years, 10 years, 50 years that you've been using the name under an impersonation fraud? Now I think people can start to understand why they don't win in court, yeah?
Yeah, there's overwhelming evidence, yeah.
Yeah, here's a bit
overwhelming
of paper.
Evidence that's not in your favor, isn't there?
You've come in with unclean hands. You've then said that you're not that, and they've got all this evidence in their database, because I can assure you they've got a database on you. Absolutely 100%. Don't ever believe that the court system doesn't have a whole history on what you've been doing on the Monopoly board. They do, even though they don't tell you that. They know everything that you do and how you do it and where you do it before you even step in the courtroom. Okay? That's just how the system works, right?
Yep.
Because why would they not want to know all that? If you've got somebody coming into your courtroom, you want to know all about them, don't you?
So I hope that makes sense. I really do, because I said at the beginning of this that I think a lot of people are confused as to, what change of status actually means. What does the Envoy protocol itself do for me? We'll cover that in a second, but I understand fully now that you haven't got a chance in court, have you? If you approach it in this manner, you just haven't.
Well, not unless you know how the game is played. You see, it's all about knowing the rules of the game. I've said many times on webinars, if you went to a chess tournament and you didn't know the rules of chess, you probably aren't going to win the chess tournament, right? How many people would go to a chess tournament when they don't know the rules of chess.
Yeah.
But everybody on the Monopoly board is turning up to play Monopoly without even knowing what the rules are.
Yeah. Or even if you go back to the chess example, you know, if you take this into a courtroom situation, we've got people here turning up at a grandmaster chess tournament and they're playing drafts.
Exactly, yeah.
Aren't they?
And they don't even know they're in a chess tournament or on the Monopoly. So they've got no hope at all, have they, really? When you stand back from it and look at it without being emotionally attached to it or without being under emotional, duress, because that's what they want, you see. And this explains why the cabal's control system is so important for them to cause distress.
Yeah.
Because if you can distress your opponent, and we're all their opponents and their slaves, if you can distress us, we're not likely to be able to cogently take them on in their own game, are we?
Yeah.
Because we're under duress. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I'm telling you. It's like next level genius. You don't even know the enemy's moves because you've never studied what their real game is. I have, so I get it, right? And that's why hopefully you're watching this video, because you want to know what the remedy is, right? Which we perhaps come on to now. So
yeah, let's talk about that, because if there's all of these other so-called solutions flying around, and clearly because of agency they don't work, and it's not just agency at that point in time where they go into the court, like you said, it's a whole plethora of a back catalogue, if you like, of events and sequences that have taken place where they've happily fraudulently attach themselves to that name. Oh, and now you're telling me you're not. That's basically where they're at that point in time. So let's talk a little bit about the Envoy protocol itself, and maybe break down some of the more popular questions that we've had surrounding it. You know, what exactly does the Envoy protocol do for me? And then we'll dig into some other questions. So let's start with this one, Iain.
So what does it do for you? Well, I can tell you before we get into all the detail that it's not the magic bullet that you send a bit of paper off to several people in the cabal and all your problems have now just gone away.
No.
There is no such magic bullet, I'm assuring you, right? You can't just send a bit of paper and all your troubles disappear, contrary to what a lot of these groups believe, right? Because your problems aren't going to disappear just by sending a piece of paper. Okay, but what it does is it redefines your true relationship to, when I say you, the living man woman's true relationship to the body corporate that is this artificial construct, which we've established isn't you, that you've been using its name for all these years. What it does is it first of all rescinds. This is clausula rebus sic stantibus, which is a hell of a mouth, it's a tongue twister. I've had to say it quite a few times, and I always think about it before I say it because I have to get it in my head because of the way so you can say it quickly and get it all mixed up. But basically, what does it mean? It's Latin for the innocent has realized that they have been committing a fraud, and they are now rescinding the fraud that they didn't know they were committing.
Yeah.
I'm going to break that down, Andy, because a lot of people still don't get this either, right? Fraud, and so many people out there, including the completely and utterly incompetent Simon Goldberg, right, and others, want to throw around, but people, and he names me all the time, Iain is a fraudster, right? Look at the Fraud Act 2006. Iain is a fraudster. That's what Simon Goldberg's narrative is and has been for a long time. And okay, so the audience is going to say, yeah, Iain, we've heard you say all these things, and why do you keep bringing it up? We don't care about Simon Goldberg. We just want a remedy to our problems. But there's a reason why I bring all these things up. fraud is mostly misunderstood by those that bandy it around. So in order to commit fraud, there has to be the intention to commit fraud. Now, a lot of people don't know that. So, for example, if I set up a market stall and was selling rotten apples and people were buying them and getting food poisoning, and I didn't know they were rotten, nobody could say I was defrauding them on buying the apples.
No. Because
I didn't know the apples were rotten inside, yeah? They might look great on the outside, but they're full of, bacteria on the inside, and it's going to make you ill. I didn't know that, and I'm selling the apples, right?
Yep.
If one of my customers wanted to take me to court for fraud because they paid for the apple that made them ill, I would win that case because I didn't intend to harm them, yeah? But if I knew that the apples were full of bacteria inside, and my customer could prove that I knew, now you've got intent to harm.
Yeah.
That is fraud.
Yeah.
So bandying this nonsense around, Simon Goldberg, Iain's a fraudster, well, there has to be the intention to defraud for it to be fraud. And I could reel off case after case after case where people have been accused of fraud and walked out of a courtroom because there's no intention to defraud. Because sometimes you don't know what you're doing is going to cause harm. Right?
Yep.
So these people that throw fraud around like it's you can convict everyone who's made a mistake for fraud, again, don't understand the law. They haven't read the law. I have. And I not have only read it, but I understand what it means. Right? So when you get to using the name, the birth certificate name, without knowing that it's not you, that isn't fraud, is it?
No.
But you've got to declare that you didn't know. So your Envoy protocol makes that declaration that you didn't know until now. That's clausula rebus sic stantibus. That's what it means. You didn't know that you were operating in fraud until now. And now you've rescinded using that name that belongs to the Crown.
Okay. So you're kind of setting your own record straight, aren't you? You're basically saying, I didn't have any clue that I was doing that. I thought that was me. I've come to the realization that it's not, and I want to go public with that now. I want this on record. I am not that person. I had no intentions of committing fraud. Now I realize that I am or have been committing fraud. I want to set that straight.
You're making a declaration. Now, this is different. Sending an affidavit to the Secretary of State that says, I am not the body corporate. Because they're going to get that document in and throw it straight in the bin because it means nothing. Because you're still the agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't even know you were the agent. And these affidavits that people have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours putting together, they don't know the nature of the problem. And nor do all these common law people who believe in common law, the Clive Edwards of this world, the capillary wave guy, and the Robin Hoods of this world who go on and on and on about constitutional law and the courts are all fraud and it's all corrupted and all these kind of things, right? It actually isn't corrupted. Not at that level. It is at the level I've been playing at because they've got a political agenda. But at the level most people play at, it's not corrupted. It's just they don't understand the rules of monopoly.
No.
So only when you get into political issues do they really corrupt it all. The rest of the time, they win every time because their opponent, i.e. the living man, woman, as the agent, doesn't know the rules. So they get convicted and they lose cases because they don't know what they're doing. And the Crown will see them as incompetent. because they don't know the rules of the game. And I'm not defending Crown. I don't like them.
No.
And I don't like what they do.
No.
And I don't like how they do it. But I do know the opponent. You've got to know the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. If you're ever going to stand any chance of winning the game, you've got to know your opponent. You can't just turn up and not have any study on the opponent.
No.
You're going to lose. So the Envoy Protocol rescinds that agency, but it doesn't remove it.
Okay.
It rescinds the use of it, but it can't remove it entirely. What it does is it makes a declaration that the living man or woman is now going to occupy, and this is another thing that a lot of people have no idea what I'm talking about when I say it occupies the office of the general executor of the decedent estate.
Yeah.
So there are three phrases I've just said that if you don't understand what they mean, that's just a load of words that has no meaning whatsoever, right? So a lot of people don't know what an office is. And I've explained this on my webinars. It's not a Regis office that you rent for 50 quid a week for your business, right?
We're not talking about a physical location here at all.
Not a physical office.
Yeah.
An office is it's an artificial construct again. It's another one. And if you occupy it because you have a position to occupy the office, like you're saying, I'm a doctor. That's the office of the doctor. Yeah. Who's occupying that office? Well, the living man woman is occupying the office of a doctor. The prime minister, the office of the prime minister.
Yeah.
You see, the living man or woman can't really play the game of Monopoly with a title unless someone is occupying the office. So when a living man woman rescinds the use of the name and then occupies the office of the decedent estate, which is the birth certificate construct itself,
right,
they're not now operating as the agent of it.
No.
Because they've rescinded the agency. What they've done is they have taken a superior jurisdictional position of the office that sits above it, because the office is always above the entity. Remember, these are two artificial entities.
Yeah.
The birth certificate construct is artificial. It's an artificial piece on the Monopoly board, and so is the office. So if you occupy the office as the living man or woman, you don't actually have to step on the Monopoly board.
Okay.
If you're occupying the office as a living man, woman, and you've rescinded the agency that exists because you have created thousands of adhesion contracts.
Yep.
Yeah, literally thousands of adhesion contracts, probably that you have forgotten all about, but they haven't forgotten them.
Mm-hmm.
Now you stand some kind of a chance to have a jurisdictional, an improvement in your jurisdictional standing, because you now you've now realized the rules of the game and you are playing by the rules. They presume that you are happy to be the agent for the body corporate construct. You've rescinded that. You've said, you've made a declaration. A declaration, and this is where the affidavit people and the notice people, the people who use notices and affidavits, have kind of got it right. If you send a notice as a declaration, it does mean something in the law. But it doesn't mean anything unless it's got some substance.
Right, okay.
So sending an affidavit, if you're Baron de Ward, or if you're the People's Law of Terra Australis, or the People's Law of Angleterre, or whatever they're calling it in the UK, just sending an affidavit to the Secretary of State that says, I am not that body corporate, hasn't got substance. Because you are representing it as the agent. And the affidavit doesn't even talk about agency.
No.
Not Baron de Ward's 80-page affidavit. that thousands and thousands of people are using and wondering why it's not working.
So you have to address the agency first. You can't just send that in and not address that, can you? Because it's there. And that's what's going to kill any standing that affidavit has.
And then you've got another group of people that say, oh, okay, well, what we need to do is we need to rescind the 12 presumptions of the law, right? Okay, that sounds like something we should look into, right? So all of the presumptions of the bar. So the bar is the British Accreditation Register. This is the Lawyers Guild, right? That operates out of the bar in the centre of London, which isn't even in the United Kingdom. It's in the city of London, which is a separate principality, right?
Yeah.
All of the courts in the United Kingdom and the same in the US and Canada and Australia, it's all the same. They are not in the country that you're in, right? So you might think you're in a court that belongs to the United Kingdom judicial system, but you're not.
But you're not. Another part of the deception and the genius, yeah.
Another part of the deception. So all these people that are fighting, saying, the UK is a corporation. I don't have to comply with it because it's a corporate entity. The council is a corporate entity. Don't have to comply with it. You're not fighting the United Kingdom. The courts that they set up are all under the control and registered to the Temple Bar. And the Temple Bar is not in the United Kingdom or Canada or Australia or the United States. Another layer of deception, right?
Yeah.
So when you go in there and you are the agent for the body corporate construct, you've already lost, and you think you're in the jurisdiction of the country that the body corporate's registered to, but you're in actually a foreign jurisdiction.
Okay.
Which is another layer of deception.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So all layers and layers and layers. And it's only when you study it do you figure out what these guys have been doing for centuries. It's not just new. It's not new. It's only happened in the last few years. It's not since the freedom community started, wanting to get free. It's been going on for centuries, right? And it works for them because they're pretty smart, right? So when you rescind the agency and then you occupy the office of the general executor. So what does that mean? What is this general executor? What does that mean? Yeah. Because a lot of people won't understand that the decedent estate is now operating in probate law. Because it's dead, yeah?
Yeah.
So if you've ever been involved, if you've got a family member or a friend who died, yeah, the body corporate dies, it's already dead.
Yeah.
It's permanently in probate. And then people are going to say, well, what does probate mean, Ian? Because it's, it's one of these fancy words that they use the lawyers use it, and the people that study the law use it. But what does it really mean? Probate really means trust. So what you're talking about, forget the name probate, you're talking about trust law.
Yeah.
So the body corporate that is, and this is where a lot of people have also got misunderstood it, right? They say the body corporate construct is a trust. No, it's not. It's a decedent estate that operates in trust.
Okay.
It's not a trust, right?
Not a trust in itself.
All these people out there saying, yeah, the body corporate is a trust, and I want to be the beneficiary of it, right?
Yeah, that's this whole the whole what is it, Nasara Jasara, where you've got all of this massive wealth apparently in this trust pot sitting there waiting for you to just claim it all. Yeah,
it's a trust, and I'm the beneficiary, so I want access to the trust fund. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't get access to a trust fund that doesn't exist.
No.
Because the body corporate is a decedent estate. An estate is different from a trust. And it's always permanently in probate because it's dead, because the placenta died, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now what you've got is you've got a load of people misunderstanding what the body corporate construct is. I call it the body corporate because an estate is a corporation, right?
Yeah.
If you go into what corporations really mean,
Yeah.
they're all estates of one type or another in the law.
Yeah.
This one is a decedent estate because it is dead or is dead on arrival, right?
Yeah.
And an estate has to have a executor or a general executor because there's a difference between an executor and a general executor.
Yeah.
The general executor has got a higher ranking than the executor. And then what you then look into is, well, okay, fine. So that all sounds very nice, Ian, but what the hell does it mean? You see, the living man, woman as the agent is presumed to be what's known as the executor de son tort.
Okay.
Another Latin name, right?
Yeah.
I like Latin because if they keep using all this Latin, nobody's going to understand what it means, yeah? So the living man, woman is operating by presumption as the executor de son tort of the decedent estate. Okay, so what does that mean, Ian? It's like a load of words again. What does it mean?
Yeah.
You see, the executor has control of the decedent estate because that's what happens in probate, right?
Yes.
And if the living man, woman, who's already presumed to be the agent of the body corporate, is also operating as the executor de son tort, that label, that name means operating in fraud.
Okay.
Because de son tort means wrong.
So you would be an executor of all the wrongs that you have committed over the time from being 18 or 21 or whatever it was up until that point.
So not only are you the agent for this body corporate that's that's involved in impersonation fraud, but you've accepted the role of the executor de son tort, which is the executor over the decedent estate, which is taken up a presumed position in fraud because tort means wrong.
Okay.
Tort law, if anybody knows what the law means, tort law means damage. Wrong. Executor de son tort, the executor of the damage, the executor of the fraud.
Not a very good position to be in, really.
No. Which is again why you don't win in court, you see, because you don't understand what they've done to you as a living man or woman. Just saying I'm a living man or woman isn't enough.
Clearly. Now I'm hoping people are understanding this now. When they actually stop and realize that it's not just a case of, oh, I'm not that birth certificate, I'm not that piece of paper. What they're not understanding is all the baggage that comes along with that they have accepted, that they have acquiesced to, that they have got adhesion contracts to. And it's all fraud. It's all, like you said, all wrongdoing in the eyes of the law. You've got no standing when you just come into a court of law telling them that I'm a living man.
No. Now you see, the deck is stacked against you before you start. That's the truth of it, right?
Heavily.
That's the reality of it. And a lot of people are trying to fight. Let's fight them, right? So then let's look at all these marches and protests and people fighting, and we don't like it. And, stop doing these things to us, yeah. Well, what standing does the living man or woman actually have?
Yeah.
Who's operating as the agent and keeps on holding out for fraud, as the impersonation fraud, who's happy to operate as the executor de son tort for the decedent estate. And then he turns up with a banner saying, I don't like what the government's doing.
Mm-hmm. No one's going to take him seriously.
No, it's like, a load of criminals from the chain gang are going to turn up and say they don't like the food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they going to roll out Michelin star food for these guys? No, they're all in jail. They've all been convicted and they're in the chain gang, but they don't like the rations. And I don't say these things flippantly. I'm trying to paint a picture here. All of those fraudsters who don't know they're fraudsters, who are operating in tort law, in damaging the monopoly board as fraudsters and as perpetrating a fraud on the monopoly board, then want better conditions in the protests.
Yeah.
So the prisoners don't like the prison. See, that's how the game works.
I think that is a great analogy. Just that there, Ian. If light bulbs aren't going off by now, then they really should be. You are a prisoner in this system.
Yeah, by design.
You can't just turn around and say, I don't like the conditions in here.
Because, you know, prisoners don't generally win that argument. They don't go to the warden and say, hey, I don't like my bed. I don't like the breakfast very much. Can you not give me like freedom and I'll go out every day and I'll come back in the evening, but I want to go out all day long. I don't think the warden is going to go along with that, yeah?
Mm.
And that's the problem. And all these people that say the system is corrupt, don't you know, Ian? It's like it's all corrupt. Actually, it's not, unless you get to the political level. Actually, it's operating as it's designed to operate.
Within its own rules and its own laws, yeah. I get that. So this declaration that goes out, what exactly are we declaring, other than what you've mentioned about I'm rescinding the trust fraud, or the fraud? I'm rescinding that. Didn't realize it was me that was doing that. Didn't realize I was representing in fraud. Is there anything else that declaration makes?
Well, a declaration is, and it is a powerful thing to do, right? So you're setting the record straight with a declaration. This is why they put notices on lampposts, right? So you know they're going to build a block of flats over there. They can't just do it without putting a notice up. They're making a declaration of their intention.
Yeah.
And if you make a declaration and you do send it to all of the powers that be, the hierarchy of the cabal, and they don't push back on it, now you've got them in an adhesion contract.
Okay.
Right.
So we're playing them at their own game.
You play them at their own game. You send them an offer to contract, which is the notice that you're going to send them, a declaration of your improvement of your standing. And if they don't push back on it and say, well, we don't agree with that, and we're not accepting that, now you've done it better than they did, because they just presumed that you're going to accept all these things, which they are perfectly entitled to presume. But you're actually being more honourable than that by sending them a declaration.
Yeah. Okay.
They don't push back on it or rebut it, and therefore you've now got an adhesion contract. They don't have to sign it. They don't have to say, yeah, we accept your declaration, here's our signature, send it back. No. In the same way as they use adhesion contracts against us, the declaration is an adhesion contract against them. And because they haven't rescinded it, and forget all this nonsense about tacit acquiescence, which a lot of people talk about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wrote to my mortgage company and I declared that the mortgage was void because it's fraud. And they never wrote back to me, so now I've got an agreement with them, it's fraud. A lot of people believe that, yeah?
Yeah.
But it doesn't work, does it? You don't turn up in court and say, I've got this bit of paper that I sent the mortgage company, and I gave them the chance to tell me that it's not fraud, my mortgage, so they didn't come back to me, and therefore it's fraud. Yeah? It's all been agreed. Pack up the case, let's all go home, and the mortgage has been written off, yeah? That doesn't work either, does it?
No.
But it's surprising how many people have tried that one. Yeah. Andy Jackman, who's used to be Simon Goldberg's right-hand man, tried that one a lot of times.
Yeah.
Write to the mortgage company. If they don't rescind it, you've got tacit acquiescence. Therefore, you've now got an agreement that they are agreeing it's all fraud, right? So people are going to say, well, you've just said sending a notice, a declaration, achieves an adhesion contract. Well, okay, I'm going to get a little bit more deeper now. So when you send a notice, a declaration to the alleged, you're actually sending it to the office of the Secretary of State.
Okay.
Even though you're pressing it. So you're not sending it to the occupant of the office.
Just
you're
the
sending
office.
it to the office.
Okay.
Now, what people do is they've got a mortgage with Santander and they say, right, what we're going to do, we're going to send Santander an affidavit.
Right.
And we're going to say in our affidavit that for all these reasons, the mortgage is void, or the credit card, or the loan. And if they don't write back within, 21 days or 30 days or something like this, we then have got they've tacitly agreed that the offer that we gave them with the affidavit and all the clauses in it, they never rebutted it. Therefore, we've got a contract, right?
Okay.
We've contractually agreed that the mortgage is void, is what they believe, right?
Yeah.
But who did they send the affidavit to? They sent the affidavit to the mortgage company name, which is not the office, and it has no standing, and it never lent them any money, and it has no standing on the Monopoly Board.
Okay.
So if I sent an affidavit to your neighbour, Andy, and said, the mortgage I've got is all fraud, can you, if you don't rebut it in 30 days, we've now got a contract that the mortgage is void, right?
Yeah.
And your neighbour gets this affidavit through the post and thinks, what the hell is this?
Yeah, and probably would throw it in the bin. Or just write return to sender.
Yeah. Now, maybe your neighbour is the servicing agent for the mortgage security, which is not at the mortgage provider, it's at the indentured trustee. So these people that think that they can agree with the mortgage provider that their mortgage is void are actually addressing the declaration to the wrong party.
Right.
Because the true party in interest is not the mortgage provider, Santander in this example. They don't have anything to do with the mortgage apart from servicing the interest collection. The actual true party of interest is the indentured trustee in New York. But nobody sends an affidavit to them because they don't know they exist. And
so when it comes to
go on,
yeah, when it comes to the declaration that goes out, then obviously standing is important. We've come to realize that you've got to make that declaration. You've got to begin to make that separation, as in it's not just a case of I'm not that living person. I'm not that person. I'm a living man. But you're also rescinding all of the wrongs. But what you're also saying is it's important that when you send that declaration, that it has to go to the right place as well. It's got to go to the right place that also has the right standing itself to receive it.
Right. So let's go one layer further in the onion, right? We're peeling the onion back, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, and this is very relevant, right? In the case of the FCA versus Iain Clifford stamp, the body corporate, they not only have they not got a case, which I'm not going to go into, but one of the things that is their Achilles heel. There are three big Achilles heel in this case. Is that they have served documents on a registered address that doesn't exist.
Okay. And unless you're properly served, there is no case, surely.
There is no case.
And for people that are watching this, you may have seen, think about TV, just for a second. Think about the TV programs, think about the movies. At some point in time in a film or in a TV program, you will have seen some guy or some person come up to another person that's on screen and said, "Hey, are you Iain Clifford or are you Andy Benson?" And they'll go, "Yeah." And they'll hand them an envelope and say, "You've just been served."
You've been served. Now, in the legal system, which is this artificial monopoly game, in order to serve, you've got to serve on a registered address of the body corporate.
Okay.
If you don't, then there's a nullity. Right? It's called a nullity. There's no substance. It's like if I send a warrant for the arrest of Iain Clifford Stamp and I just throw it up in the air and don't actually serve it on any registered address, how would Iain Clifford Stamp know that he'd been served?
Yeah.
So my example of the mortgage is relevant because if you send a notice to an affidavit or a notice to the mortgage company and you say this mortgage is void for all these reasons, if you don't write back, we've agreed that it's all void. It's not sending it to the right place.
No.
And if you send an affidavit to the Secretary of State, Mr. Bill Brown of the office, not the office, but just Bill Brown at the Secretary of State's address.
Yeah.
That's not the right place to send it.
Okay.
Because you haven't served it. You should be serving it on the office of the Secretary of State.
Right.
Because the actual Secretary of State, let me ask you this question, right? I'm just asking the audience, how many prime ministers have there been in the last 100 years?
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you going to do? You're going to send an affidavit or a notice to Tony Blair, and then he leaves office.
Mm-hmm.
So sending it to Tony Blair doesn't really mean much, does it? If he was in, or sending it to Keir Starmer, if he's the current idiot in the Prime Minister's office at the moment.
Yeah.
And I mean that quite forcefully. He's a complete idiot, like they all are, right? So if you send it to the idiot who's occupying the office and don't send it to the office, then you're not sending it to the right place, are you?
No, because if they leave, then and someone new comes in, then that declaration, that notice, whatever you've served, isn't for them anyway. It was for the other guy or the other person. So yeah,
it has to be sent to the office.
Office remains constant, doesn't it? I think that's what we're trying to say here. Yeah,
the office doesn't go away.
Yeah, people occupy it and they come and go. Same as the president in the US. Every 4 years, they'll come and they'll go, or they maybe take a second term and they'll go after 8 years or whatever. But the office remains. Okay.
So it could always be to the occupant of the office, blah, blah, blah name, right? But you're actually addressing it to the office if you're doing it properly. And now the declaration means something because it's being properly served. That's the whole point of the last 5 minutes, service, right?
Yeah. Okay. So in serving that declaration, the next logical question would be, how then does that give me immunity? What does it do?
Well, you see, immunity is, again, it's like fraud. It's a misunderstood word, right? Immunity doesn't mean that you can go out now and you've sent your declaration to the office of the Secretary of State and a bunch of other cabal leaders, right? And now you can go out and do whatever you want. And if anybody challenges you, just say, no, you haven't got any case against me. I'm an envoy. So off you go, jog on. Yeah. It doesn't mean that, even though lots of people want it to mean that. What it means is that you have, and this is quite deep, right? This is way, way deeper than a lot of people are going to resonate with on this podcast, right? Operating as the creditor, as the expression of consciousness, which is who we are.
Yeah.
As the supplier of the energy on the monopoly board, that is a frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I lie awake all night worried about the FCA? No.
I hope not.
I don't give them a second thought.
No.
Because I have immunity. I don't have a badge to put on my shirt that says I'm immune from the FCA. What I have is a knowing that I am immune. Because I made the declaration, and because I have, and this is way, way deeper, right?
Yeah.
True integrity is living honestly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
True
even
integrity.
go one further. I would say integrity is always doing the honourable right thing, even when nobody's watching.
Exactly. So what you've done with your declaration is you have cleaned the slate. You can now hold your head up high. That you're no longer the executor dissontor. You're no longer operating under impersonation and fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you are immune to, this is where it's very deep, right? You are immune to the Crown's presumption that you are a fraudster and you are the executor dissontor. That is your immunity. Your immunity is integrity that you can't have before because you're operating and holding yourself out in fraud and you are operating as the executive dissontor. So you can't have a position of integrity if you're operating under those two categories that make you dishonorable, even if you don't realize that you are operating dishonorably. And then you can go one step further and you could say, right, and I'm going to go even deeper again, because I do get quite deep on these analysis. Let's say you turned up in court and you didn't realize that you were the general executor of the decedent estate as the executor dissontor, and you didn't realize that you were operating in impersonation and fraud because you didn't realize.
Okay.
I'm sure the audience will know the saying that ignorance is no excuse in the law.
Yeah.
So even if you didn't know that you're operating in these two weak positions, you should know.
Gotcha.
Because ignorance is no excuse in the law, right?
No.
So you can't really turn up and say, well, you can make a declaration that you didn't know, but deeper than that, you should know. So when you actually do know, and when you serve your declarations, now you are immune. It's like you've taken the immunity.
Yeah.
You've set yourself up for immunity. It doesn't mean that you can turn up at the border and say, I want to go through the diplomat's line because I'm now immune. I've got immunity, right? It's not that kind of immunity. It's immunity from being operating within a defective position. You're now immune to that.
Yeah.
You've cleaned
so it's
it
moving
up.
from it's moving from ignorance to immunity, isn't it? That's what it is. Essentially, is what we're saying here. You're moving from a state of ignorance to a state of immunity. Yeah.
Because now you can genuinely say that you are not that body corporate.
Yeah.
You couldn't say it before, but you can now. And you can say it with full force and substance because you've set it up correctly. And you know it in your heart. If you actually understand what these notices and declarations are doing, you know it in your heart. You don't have to have a piece of paper with you that says, oh, I need to read this out because I'm not really sure what it means. You need to know it.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't worry about the FCA, because I know that my position is significantly more superior than theirs in within integrity, within honor.
It goes deep. It really does. This is something we haven't explored before, Iain. Well, I say we haven't. We have spoken about people's state of mind, people's perception of who they are, and really seeking peace as well. Just mental peace, emotional peace with all of this too. And that there's a lot of other benefits surrounding what we do here that are outside of the tangible, aren't there? And I think when people really start to see that, or at least start to experience that as well, they'll recognize that this pathway to freedom is so much more than financial. It really is. It's multifaceted, isn't it?
It's not about monopoly, it's about who you really are. It's that you strip it all back.
Getting back to source and true self, Yeah,
it's like you're going back to your source, the source of the energy. Well, what is that source? It's consciousness. It is the everything. It's the all. It's the one. That's what this is really about. You therefore are immune to the body corporate bullshit and the cabal's games of control.
Because you're not a construct anymore.
You're not going to be this. You're not going to operate this construct in fraud. You can put other constructs on the board, and you can operate them with integrity because they're not under the same level of control as the cabal's got over the body corporate.
Yeah.
These things that I put together are way deeper than the majority of people understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that we've covered that question, because I think a lot of people genuinely thought that this gave them real world immunity, as in, I have diplomatic immunity.
No, you can't turn up at the airport and go through the diplomatic line, because they're going to say, where's your diplomatic passport?
Yeah.
And you haven't got one.
Yeah.
This is a state of mind. It's a state of mind. It's a state of knowing. It's a return to source. That's the immunity. It's the immunity from the, just make it even more plain, right? The cabal's control agenda is fear. In one word, it's fear. You are immune from fear.
Yeah.
If you understand, comprehend, use the word comprehend, deep knowing who you really are as the creditor, as the source of the energy, as an expression of consciousness.
Yeah.
Now you are immune from the nonsense and the fear that's on the monopoly board. That's the immunity I'm talking about.
Gotcha. Okay. So now that we've cleared that side of things up, let's talk a little bit about jurisdiction then. Because if you've made this declaration and you now have this immunity within you, as in, I've wiped the slate clean, I'm no longer operating in fraud, I'm immune to all this bullshit that I've been subject to for all these years. What about the courts themselves? Now that you've made that declaration, will courts still try to claim jurisdiction over you?
Okay, so now we're getting into strategy, right? So if you are facing a court battle of some nature, right? So the living man, woman is the agent, but they presume you to be the agent.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're going to carry on presuming you are the agent and you are this executive de son tort over the decedent estate, and they're not going to just kowtow and go away because you give them a copy of your Envoy notice. They're not.
No.
And I've never claimed that they would. Some people might make it up that I've claimed it, but I never have, because I understand this, deeply understand this, right? And I do have integrity, and I wouldn't promise things to people unless I had made a mistake, and then I would say I've made a mistake, but I haven't made a mistake in this because I actually know it inside and out. So what you do with your immunity and your knowing that you are not now going to operate as the agent for the body corporate is that you don't engage in their courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And people are going to say, well, Iain, that's all very nice, but what happens when they come to your door and arrest you and cart you away? What happens when they send the warrant out from the court and they're going to send the stormtroopers to pick you up? Yeah. By the way, that's what they did with me, right?
Yep.
Am I in jail now? No. Did I go in their courtroom? No. Ever. I never went in their courtroom. What did I do? I sent an agent in. I reversed it round. Iain became the principal, and I sent an agent into the courtroom for the principal. And that is an attorney in fact.
Yeah.
So you never go into the courtroom unless you're dragged in there, physically dragged into a courtroom. You never go in because the living can't step on the monopoly board, because the monopoly board we've established is an artificial board, right?
Yeah.
How can you step on something artificial? Your foot's going to go straight through it, isn't it? Because there's no substance to it. So what you do is you send in an attorney who represents as the agent for the principal. Now the principal is the living man or woman.
Yep.
You send your agent in and they will advance the superior jurisdiction of the principal. Okay? But you never step in their courtroom.
No.
Because as soon as you step in their courtroom, they're going to presume that you've now become the agent again.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. You're not helping yourself if you do that. Not at all. Especially having made that declaration. The second you go back into that situation, you're accepting everything that you've just rescinded again, aren't you?
Exactly. Because you're answering to the name that isn't you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't answer to it. You don't ignore it, because it won't work by ignoring it. You don't just stick all the envelopes in the bin and carry on, because that's not going to work. No, what you do is you go on the attack. And I've just written a research paper, which isn't my research at all, really. It's been around thousands of years. It's the Sun Tzu Art of War.
Mm-hmm. We spoke about this the other day as well.
Yeah. So what you do is you look at your opponent and you study them. And you find their Achilles heel. And generally there is always one. And it's either in the fact they lack substance, or they make a mistake in what they do. Now, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm not going to name names, but I am currently providing forensic research to a particular individual that you would all know if I said the name, who's facing mortgage foreclosure and bankruptcy. I'm working with some other people as well, giving them forensic research. Now, if you walk in the courtroom, as this particular individual did on many occasions, and say, I am not the body corporate, I'm a living being.
Yeah.
And you've got your army of people behind you that are going to say, yeah, this courtroom's all corrupt. And the individual that I'm talking about is firmly of the belief, for good reason, that they are going to win, because they're going to say in the courtroom, I am not that body corporate. You need to call me by a different name.
Okay.
Well, the problem with that is that the individual that I'm talking about walked in the courtroom.
Yeah. And that's the,
and therefore, no matter what this individual said,
yeah,
the courts, like, well, the substance of it is you're here.
Yeah.
So you can tell us you're not here, but we're
you
looking
are.
at you. We're looking at you.
Yeah.
And we're hearing your words. So you either are or you're not the agent for the body corporate. We think you are, and you turned up as the agent for the body corporate. So the substance of it is that you must be the agent for the body corporate. And no surprise, I'm not a body corporate, I'm a living being didn't prevail. And the two cases got a lot worse, right? I mean, so significantly worse, right? So what you've got to do in that scenario is that you look at the opponent's Achilles heels. So in the case of the mortgage, the Achilles heel is that the party that is bringing the claim for foreclosure, the alleged mortgage provider, isn't actually the mortgage provider.
Oh, okay.
The real party of interest, and this is every single mortgage, by the way, without exception, the real party of interest is the indentured trustee, who holds the security, the mortgage security, right? So it should be them that's in the courtroom as the claimant, right? As the plaintiff, the claimant.
Not the original mortgage provider. Okay.
What they do is they send their agent into the courtroom, which is the alleged mortgage provider.
Okay.
That you might have signed a contract with, but they're no longer the mortgage provider. And they never really were. Because then what you do is you send an adverse claim. Because the living man, woman is the creditor of the mortgage, yeah? And they have to defend. Now you've turned defense into attack. Because you are making a claim. You're not just making it on paper. You've actually changed the record at the top of the ledger with the United States Treasury by serving a 1099 OID, which changes it corrects the status of the security, and the indentured trustee who's been saying that they're the creditor now becomes the debtor. Because that's what IRS publication 1212 does. It corrects the record on who is the debtor and who is the creditor at the top. Not in the court where the alleged mortgage provider has got their case.
So what I'm hearing here, and I think on that subject, that is another subject in itself, isn't it? And we definitely want to go into the mortgage liberation, mortgage redemption protocols as well, and do a separate interview on those, because we haven't done that yet. What I'm hearing here, the short and simple answer to this question, to me, will the court still try and claim jurisdiction over me? Yes, they will, but only if you let them.
But you've got to let them do it. So you don't go in, you send your attorney in fact in, and then you find their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And you don't turn up in the court and say, this, that, and the other is your Achilles heel. You do it through an attorney in fact.
Yeah.
Which is why, by the way, I've established Ecclesia Law as an attorney in fact firm.
Yes.
Not a bar regulated firm or registered firm, because then you're working for the cabal.
Yeah.
Because you've got a license from them. You don't need
to want to do that.
Be a license. Simon Goldberg, you do not need, Simon, to have a bar license to practice law. Attorney in fact. Everybody can appoint an attorney in fact who practices law as an attorney for the principal. Right?
Well, surely if that was the case, you wouldn't be able to even represent yourself, would you?
Well, you could if you did it split title. Yeah, you could get the body corporate to represent the man appoint the body corporate as your attorney in fact. But that's a bit more complicated, and that's going to cause you difficulties. But you could do it. It's better to appoint somebody else as the attorney in fact, because an attorney can only be a body corporate, right? A living man or woman can't be an attorney.
No.
Because they're off the monopoly board. So you appoint a body corporate, a birth certificate construct, as the attorney in fact, because that's on the monopoly board. The living man woman is not on the board. You can't put the living man or woman on the board because it's impossible to go on the board, right?
Yeah.
So you can't appoint another living man as your attorney in fact, because they can't go on the board either. But you can appoint a body corporate construct as your attorney in fact, who can be an attorney, because only the body corporate constructs can operate as attorneys. Men and women can't, which is why you don't go in the courtroom. You then find the Achilles heel of your opponent. They've always got one. It's either in the substance of what they're doing or it's in the procedure of what they're doing. It's either one of those. So procedurally, they've got to follow all of these steps and rules, right? And invariably, they make mistakes. So in the bankruptcy case that I'm helping this individual with, they didn't serve the bankruptcy order in the right way. That's a procedural error.
Yeah.
So you can find that as a Achilles heel, and then you can attach focus all your energy on that, and they have to collapse the case. But you still don't ever go in the courtroom.
Okay.
Never go in the courtroom.
All right. I think that one's cleared that up. So let's move on. Question number 4 is, do I still have to comply with UK statutes and tax rules?
Well, that depends. Let me explain why I say it depends. If the tax and the legislation is applicable to the body corporate, which it is in nearly every single case, there are some, this is why I need to explain it, right? If you murder somebody, the murder charge is actually against the living man.
Yeah.
It's not against the body corporate.
Okay.
Because they raise the bar right up if you cause somebody harm, and they go after the flesh and blood. But in terms of taxes and legislative things, right, they can only go after the body corporate.
Yeah.
So the question is, you have to unpack the question, you see. Do I still have to comply? Well, who is the I?
Well, I would say, for me personally, the living man does not have to comply. But it depends on whether the UK statutes and the tax rules consider I to be the body corporate.
Right. Well, they will presume that the I means the body corporate and the agent is dragged into it because the agent is responsible for the principal, right?
Yeah.
So the taxes that apply to the body corporate, the birth certificate construct, they will presume that they apply to the man, the woman. They will, because that's how their system is wired up. And the fact that you've served the Envoy Protocol probably isn't going to be recognised by the tax office or by the local council.
No.
Because they haven't got a database that's going to say, oh, don't go near that guy there because he served an Envoy notice. Because they won't have a database to record that, right?
No.
So now what you've got to do is, now you've got to conduct yourself as the creditor, as the honourable party here, right? And the easiest thing to do is not to go to war on taxes or on speeding fines or policy infractions, because they are all policy infractions. The easiest thing to do is to get your asset fortress protocol, which you've established if you've been listening to or watching my webinars, and you use that as a private treasury to discharge these problems and liabilities of the body corporate, which isn't you, but they're going to presume it is you, even though you've served the Envoy Protocol, because you've changed your mindset. You now know that you're not the body corporate. You've got that immunity in your mind and in your heart, yeah? But now you play the game because you can't win this game at the low level. because they don't know that you're playing at a higher level. So when you get the tax bill through, which you are not receiving, it's the body corporate that's receiving it, they are still going to presume that that tax bill belongs to, is going to be underwritten by the living man.
Yeah.
Woman. They are.
Yeah.
Just the reality, right? Just because you've served a notice, they're not going to have on their database, don't send this guy, this body corporate, a tax bill anymore. It doesn't work like that.
No.
But what you've done in serving the notice is you've cleared the pathway to operate with integrity. So the question is, do I, let's assume that the I is the living man, woman, still have to comply with UK statutes and taxes? No, because the living man was never responsible to comply with them in the first place.
No.
Will the living man, woman be caught by agency, presumed agency? Probably yes, at the low level, because the system won't recognise the Envoy Protocol notices. That you will know them, because you see the act of serving them is not that the whole of the world's records are going to change.
No. It's
your knowing that changes. I don't know whether I'm making this clear, and maybe
no, I think you are. I think you are. And there's a couple of options here for people, isn't there? Because as we've said, you know, these protocols are individual, but they also are interwoven with one another. So in this scenario, for example, do you have to comply with the UK statutes and tax rules? No, not as the living man. And that is a knowing within you that it does not apply to you. But it's not going to remove you necessarily from the liability that the Crown will try to put upon you. So you've got a couple of options. You can pay that peacefully and recoup that and not have the stress and maintain that mindset that, okay, I'll play their game. We'll get that out the way. We'll recoup that back the following year. So in essence, I haven't paid anything really. Or you could also, if you are running a business, for example, you could look at the construct of the commerce protocol as well. And you can become a ministry-based organization where you are non-reporting anyway. If that's more in alignment with knowing inside that you don't have to do that, you're not liable to that, you don't have to comply to that, then back that up in the real world, if that makes sense to you. So there's different ways that people can do this, isn't there, Iain? I think that's what we're trying to say.
The reality of the Envoy Protocol notice is a change in belief. It is a change of standing within yourself, right? And that then leads you to behave differently on the monopoly board.
Yeah.
Because right now, the majority are the player moving the piece around the board and they don't know it. And they're all operating, generally speaking, in fear.
Yeah.
Largely. I mean, nearly every question I get on my webinars is coming from a position of fear.
It's a fear-based question, yeah. Yeah.
All the questions I get, what about this? What about that? What about the other? Even this question is a question of fear.
Mm.
Do I have to comply? Mm-hmm. No, you don't have to comply. You have to manage the creditor position to win the game.
Yeah.
Because the word comply means that you are subservient to the monopoly board.
Yeah.
You're not.
That's not
because the I is consciousness. It can't be compliant to the monopoly board. Jesus said, I'm not religious, by the way. Jesus allegedly said, forgive them for they know not what they do. Allegedly, right? It's on all the scriptures, right?
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? Forgive the monopoly board for they know not what they do. Do you not know who I am? That's what it means. And that's what this question reveals is, do I have to comply with the master? No, because you are the master. See?
It's a real mindset shift, isn't it? And I think once people accept that and take that on and wear that and live that, only then will they feel it and realize it. And then when that shift takes place, the fear goes away. And like you said, rather than coming from a place of defense and fearful reaction to letters and whatever it may be that comes through the post, now you put yourself in a position where you, as you mentioned, you manage that position. You manage the position of being the creditor. But with that comes responsibility. With that comes understanding how to manage. Why do you think we're doing these, these interviews right now? We're not doing it just because we love talking about this stuff, although we do. We're doing it because we want people to actually understand and educate themselves so that they can use these protocols responsibly. I think just that immunity one alone, there's been so many people that have had a misconception as to what that immunity meant.
The way to look at this, hopefully people will play this and maybe replay it, because the way to look at this, and the reason I'm not trembling in my boots every day that someone's going to turn up and cart me away, is because I know the energy in me is consciousness. I can go even deeper than that. Even if they came and shot me in the head with a gun, I'm not even afraid of that. Because the I is infinite energy. Yeah. That's what you've got to know. You can't be afraid if you're a source of infinite energy, can you?
No, because it's never ending.
It's never ending. You just turn up in a different place on a different board, probably.
Yeah.
So that's
a whole other conversation to have.
A whole other conversation. But if you know who you are as the creditor, then you don't negotiate with the terrorists who set the board up, do you? You control the board. You look for their weakness. You come from a position of high integrity and honor, and you play their game, but you play it better than them.
Yeah.
Because they ain't very good at it, I'm going to assure you. In every single case I've ever looked at, they make a load of mistakes because they're not that good at playing their own game. You need to be better at their game than they are to win against them. And you starts with knowing who you are and then playing their game with advanced rules, advanced moves and advanced strategies, which is what I talk about on my webinars. But do I have to comply? It's like the slave is coming up to the master saying, do I have to eat this food because I don't really like it?
Yeah. Yeah.
The master never asked that question.
Well, question 5, Iain, we've pretty much answered it, to be fair, which is how is this different from common law, UCC filings, affidavits, or living man declarations? I think we've gone quite heavily into that and the differential between them. If you wanted to just give a quick elevator view on that again for the audience, please do.
Right. Where it's different is in isolation, the Envoy Protocol notices are not going to be the magic bullet that is going to change your whole experience on the Monopoly board.
No.
In the same way as sending a UCC filing out or making living man declarations or issuing all sorts of affidavits or notices isn't going to achieve the magic bullet result that you're looking for. But where it is different from all of those other processes that people follow is that it combined with a belief about the status standing of you with your immunity, your deep belief, you're operating from integrity, from honor, and you are the creditor. You combine that with the other protocols. Now you've got the magic bullet. But on its own, no, it's not. Just sending out some declarations isn't going to change the whole world that you're living in.
No.
But combined with the other protocols,
it is foundational to the other protocols, absolutely. Particularly the commerce protocol. You know, moving into that space of a ministry-based business, for example. You can't do that without this, can you? You just can't.
It's complementary.
No.
It's like, you've got a, you've got something which is incomplete without this. The other protocols are incomplete without this, because, and this is why I wanted to do this interview, is because when more and more people realize, deeply know the position that they already have, but they don't realize it, that changes to how you use the protocols, the other protocols, right?
Yeah, massively.
And then on my webinars, there'll be less people saying, oh, what happens if this happens or that happens? Am I going to be disadvantaged? It's like, no, you're asking the wrong question.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope people are getting it now. I really do. So let's look at the next question. Let's talk about practical changes. What will I notice in my life once I become an envoy? Well, you're not going to be able to stand at the top of a big building and pull your wallet out and say, I have diplomatic immunity. That's not one of them. Without going back to the movies. What
you will notice, if you've watched this interview and you've read the documents and you actually get yourself aligned, because what's going on here, you see, the ego, which is itself an artificial construct. It's not real. You can't see it, can you? You can't have a chat with it. It's an artificial construct, just like the body corporate is an artificial construct, the birth certificate entity. You see this ego that we've all got, and I've got a massive one, and I know it. I can't help it. My ego loves it, right? My ego loves to know stuff that other people doesn't know, right? And that's ego, right? But I have to use the ego in order to communicate to people who don't know what I know. Because if I didn't have, if I wasn't driven to do that, we wouldn't be sitting here doing this interview, right? So you've got to be able to control the ego in exactly the same way as you need to control the body corporate. And you need to operate from who you really are. And if you're always operating from the ego and you're always operating from the body corporate, you ain't going to do very well.
No.
But if you can control the body corporate birth certificate construct, and you can set other pieces up on the monopoly board, and you can control the ego, and often that means that you need to admit that you might be wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people can't do. Now you can use the ego and you can use the body corporate to your advantage. But you can't use either of those things to your advantage unless you know who you really are.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the possible objections, I would say, because I think there are some. I would say the first one would be, what protection do I get from this? You know, if I'm worried it won't actually protect me, what if the courts ignore it?
Well, then you're not gonna go in there and say, here's my Envoy protocol notice. So all you log in here, you can all clear off now because I've turned up with this document. That ain't gonna work, is it?
No. We've already established that.
You've gone in there.
The first big mistake they've made, going in the courtroom in the first place.
You've gone in there with a document and you think this document has got some magical powers that everybody in the courtroom is going to disappear, right? It's not going to work, is it?
No.
So you have to use your power. You have to use the power that you've already got that you probably don't tap into of who you really are. And you have to play their game with better moves and more strategy. That's what's going to happen here. What practical changes will I notice? You'll notice that you are the source of the energy, and you are the creditor, and you are the one that makes the rules, not the one that complies with the rules. You make your own rules by playing the game better.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I was a footballer, right? When you play in a football team and they are at the top of their game, literally, they think they can never lose a match. And I've played in teams like that, right? Where every time you turned up at the match, you expected to win because you knew how good you were, as the team was really good, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have that mindset.
Yeah.
You can't turn up, oh, well, maybe we'll lose 5-0 today, but hopefully we might get a goal. You've got to have the mindset of the creditor.
Yeah.
You're playing this game to your advantage.
Yeah.
That is what you should get if you really deeply know this stuff. And if you turn up thinking you're always going to lose, which is fear, guess what?
Chances are you will.
Yeah. The chance are you're going to lose.
Are you will.
Over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to go, well, the system is corrupted and I always get the wrong end of the stick and the rough end of the deal because you're not playing the game from a position of the creditor.
Yeah. And the first part of that is don't turn up at the bloody courtroom in the first place. That's the first thing. I think people are scared of not turning up. It's almost as if I have no choice. I've got no choice. I've been summoned to the court. I have to attend.
Look,
and that in itself is a...
Yeah, in my example, they did a sentencing hearing. Now, you'd think that a lot of people think, oh, my God, I'm going to have to turn up for that. I didn't turn up.
No. Deliberately
didn't turn up. The judge was incensed. Where is Iain Clifford stamp? Where is he? 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 I wasn't there. Why should I turn up in their room, which is, the court is the paperwork. Why would I turn up in their room when I knew what their agenda was? I'm not going to turn up in their room, am I? I'd be ridiculously stupid to turn up in their room. You don't have to turn up in any courtroom, I can assure you.
Okay. So courts will probably ignore it. Chances are they'll want to. It's all how you play the game. And you've got to play it as the creditor, not as the debtor, not as the agent. You can't do that. How about this one? Sounds complicated. Not sure if I could manage all the paperwork surrounding this.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. I mean, yeah, it is complicated. It's complicated and simple all at the same time. It's complicated when you don't get it. It looks very complicated when you don't get it. But when you get it, it's simple. Like everything, like walking, like riding a bike. Before you knew how to do it, it's really complicated, yeah? But once you know how to walk and you know how to ride a bike, it's pretty simple, yeah?
Yeah.
You don't even think about it anymore, do you? How about driving a car? That's pretty complicated, isn't it? Remember your driving lessons?
Got behind the wheel of a car, yeah.
I taught my first wife to drive. Oh my God, what a nightmare! I mean, we had screaming arguments in the car because it was really difficult for her, and I couldn't understand why she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But now she's probably an advanced driver. I don't know her anymore, but now she's probably an advanced driver. So everything's difficult when you first look at it, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah. So the key here, guys, is again, it's learning. Have you actually got your L plates on with all of this at the moment? Or are you just sat there and you can't be bothered and you just want to just watch videos and just listen? You've got to learn. You've got to have an understanding. And you've got to have that attitude and mindset. I mean, I'm going back to your analogy there of walking, of a baby. Babies go from rolling around on the floor to crawling, to climbing up the furniture and standing for the first time. And then when they're taking those first few steps, they fall over a lot. Do you ever find a baby that does that for a couple of 3 days and then thinks, oh, do you know what? Sod this. I can't do it. I'm never going to walk. They just keep going and going. And they don't care how many times they fall over. They just keep going and going and going and going until they get it. And that's the attitude you've got to have with this. You can't get halfway through the education that we provide and think, oh, do you know what? I can't. This is your freedom, for crying out loud. That's what this is about. Are you really going to give up having found a source of information and knowledge that is going to get you from where you are to where you want to be and give up halfway through? Or are you going to keep going until you get it, until you can walk, until it becomes second nature? because a lot of the questions that we get, whether it's here, whether it's on webinars, is purely lack of understanding. And that lack of understanding creates more fear, because the questions we get are fear-based scenarios surrounding what do I do in this situation? What do I do in that situation? Because they wouldn't know how to handle that situation if it came upon them. And they're fearful of that. And I'm going to hold up my hand and say that I've been one of those people as well. But when you start to understand how this works, you'll then understand how to react, how to respond, and how to go on the attack. And I can tell you for a fact, it's a lot more enjoyable to go on the attack than be on the defense. It really is.
Yeah, because creditors don't defend. The source of creation doesn't defend itself. It attacks those that are attacking it. And you don't. That doesn't mean that you go around looking for wars to attack people on.
No.
But if you're under attack, the only way you're going to win is by going on the attack. You can't win by defence. No football team in history has won the league by defending.
No, because they're always at the wrong end of the pitch. That's why.
Yeah. If you're going to win the match, you've got to attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. Yeah? That is a fairly good analogy. You can't win any sports event if you are always defending and you never attack. Yeah.
Yeah. Football, boxing, no matter what it is.
Well, what it is, it's the same in life. So I wish I had the ability to transfer what I know to you watching this, but I can't do that without doing all these interviews, right? So I can't transfer my knowledge in one go. You can't download it, but you can read my ecclesial law research papers.
Yeah.
You can come on these interviews. You can come on the webinars. And I've got to tell you that is a lot more than I ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was completely...
out there. You've had to go out there and find it, haven't you? And it's not that Google. Yeah, Google's not going to just present all of this information to you guys. So I'm just looking at the time, Iain. We're sort of 2.5 hours in now. Maybe this would be a good place just to wrap up with some final thoughts.
Sure. The final thoughts are that in order to live peacefully, you've got to know the game rules. You've got to operate as the creditor.
Yeah.
A piece of paper isn't going to change your whole world on its own.
No.
It doesn't matter what it says on the bit of paper. It's not going to change your world. It's going to help you to act honorably with integrity and operate as the creditor. And if you don't want to do those things, if you don't want to know what all those mean, then you're in the wrong place.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. So guys, I hope that this has been beneficial for you. We've gone quite deep on the Envoy protocol. I hope that there's been some light bulbs. I hope that any misconceptions have been leveled out for you now as well. We'll continue to do this. We kind of touched on a particular case that Iain was working on, which was to do with mortgages. We are going to do another interview on the mortgage liberation and mortgage redemption as well. So look out for that. And we've also covered the asset fortress. We've covered infinite money. We have covered the commerce protocol, and how certainly the Envoy protocol has a lot of bearing on the commerce protocol, and having that envoy status and having that ministry construct as well for a business. So if you are first time watching these videos, I would encourage you to go back and watch the others that we've done, so you get a better understanding of all the protocols. If you've been watching these and you're enjoying them, then we'll keep doing them, because I think this is probably the biggest gap that we see within our members, and what we have here is knowledge. It's just a knowledge and understanding gap. It's not a belief thing. It's not that they don't have the confidence and belief that this will work. But I can tell you for a fact, if you've got more of a solid knowledge base on this, your confidence will increase even more because of the knowledge you've got. So please keep watching. We'll be back on another one, hopefully within the next couple of days. And we appreciate you all being here. Talk to you soon.
Bye for now.